Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's conversation, Go-to-Market 101, a founder's guide to go-to-market strategy. My name is Daniel Anzueto. I welcome all pronouns, and I serve as a community engagement manager at Startup. I'm excited to welcome you to today's event. If this is your first time attending one of our workshops, welcome. I know that Startup's mission is to increase opportunity and success for LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs. I'm excited and grateful to introduce our host for today's session, Shweta Agrawal, Chief Product Officer at Boston New Technology and Chair of the Boston Programming Board. The floor is yours, Shweta.
All right, thank you. Oh, okay. Okay, sorry. I'm so glad to be here. Hello, everyone. I'm Shweta Agrawal, calling in from Boston. I am Chief Product Officer, as Danny mentioned. My background is in product and tech. Been in the industry for 15 plus years, worked in 500 Fortune companies and healthcare industries, launched multi-million dollars of products. Then I was really interested about the startup ecosystem. I worked in a couple of startup companies, mid to large small size companies, and transitioned into different industries. I worked at the video platform company as well. And I have been mentoring founders from all stages, early, mid, large stage, growth stage, on go to market, on product market fit, anything with the pitch as well. I am a chair at Start Out Boston. Also, I'm GTM expert and have office hours at Start Out. Also a mentor to founders, irrespective, industry agnostic. So super excited to be here. And today I'm going to talk about go-to-market strategy. And before I do that, I would love to do a quick poll, quick just to get a sense of. Let me share. Actually, you know what? Let me share my screen, and then we can dive in uh, here. Let me know if you guys can see my screen. Can you guys see?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. So today we're going to talk about go-to-market 101. And, this is for anyone who is like whether first-time founders, serial entrepreneurs, you're in product or you're in tech, marketing and sales. It's for everyone, or you're in data, right? So go-to-market is needed given if you're working on a company or you're working on your idea. It's needed, right? So this is me, and as we progress, as I said, I'm a startup advisor as well. And if you have any questions, I would love to have this engaging conversation. So feel free to put in the chat. If you have any questions, your thoughts, I would love to have those thoughts and comments coming up. And before I dive into what is go to market, let me get a sense of who we in the room who we have. So just put it in the chat if you are a first time founder, serial entrepreneur. What is your background? Meaning, are you an engineer or product person? Are you working on your idea? If you have a startup already, what industry? So just like put in the chat, that way I'll get to know who all we have in the room today. I'll give a minute. Okay, first time founders, non technical, about to launch the MVP, serial entrepreneur, operator, technologist, and a student. First time founder, I've been building, but nothing gone. That's great, Amy. You'll learn here a lot what you should be thinking as you're gonna go to the market. Product manager, fashion brand 0 to 1. Okay, perfect. So looks like we have amazing audience in the room. And I'll tell you, as you are thinking, if you're a first-time founder or you have an idea and you're thinking of building the prototype, or even before you build the prototype, what you all should think of. And that's what it's all about. So go to market. Um, Before we even think about the go to market, right? As a founder, we have serial entrepreneurs as well, 2x founder, which is great. So before people say, hey, go to market, you have to think about the go to market strategy. What that even means, like it's just a word, or what is the logic behind? So let me tell you more. Um, Go to market, and I'm going to tell you before you even think about the go to market, if you have an idea, there's something called product market fit. And once you validate, once you show, like, okay, I have my idea, I know the audiences want my product, then I can think about the go to market, right? But as of now, you can think of like go to market is nothing but, and this is just a quick example you can um, think of go to market as a roadmap and the fuel and the driving lessons that you need to ensure the car moves and you win the race, right? For you, for founders, we want to win the race, as in we want customers paying for money. We want to get the revenue. We want to lead the market in the industry, right? That's what we want to do. That's our milestone. That is our main goal, right? In order to achieve a goal of, building the company, the revenue, the teams, the customers, the path to achieve that is called go to market, right? And when we say go to market, there are a few things that we should be thinking about. Go to market comprises of a couple of different factors. And here, as you see, it comprises of positioning, how you position your company. What is your idea? If you explain that to people, people as in, like, it might be a consumer, it might be potential client or investor, or even when you're trying to hire team members, right? If you're in early stage, you want a team to help you build that product, right? And go to market is nothing but a mix of the positioning of your message, what is the price factor, and we'll talk more about all these in depth. The pricing, right? You don't want to price so high that people don't even go and test it out, right? You want to promote your product, your startup, your idea once you're building or as you're building. And the distribution, meaning how you use different channels, how you market your product, what are the different audiences you're tapping into, right? So all these factors make up the go to market successful. And with that being said, let me you might ask, like, okay, we understand go to market on a high level, but why does founders or entrepreneurs should think about it, right? So when you have an idea, as I work with so many founders, I have been working with the founders from the early stage where they have an idea and now they're thinking, like, okay, I want to launch my idea. And to launch my idea, I have to build my prototype. And once you think about building the prototype, you have to think about which target customers you are tapping into. What businesses, meaning is it B2B, is it B2C, what industry, if you're in health tech, if you're in ed tech, fintech, insurtech, what industries you are focusing on and how you're solving the problem. The main thing is the problem is there, but your solutions, how you're solving that problem, right? And in this case, why founders should think about, let me tell you more. This is a fact, but 42% of the startups fail because they solve the wrong problem or target the wrong market. What I mean by that, I have seen the successes of the founders and the failures of the founders. And the reason, I'll give you a quick example without giving more depth into it, but there was one founder who spent 2 years, for example, focusing on, and it was in the healthcare. So this particular founder, they were building a product for healthcare customers, and what they realized was 2 years they were focusing on B2C, directly to the consumers. After 2 years, and they started creating the prototypes and the products, but the lack of interviewing the customers, the lack of understanding the market, they spent 2 years, but then they realized the real market was the enterprises, meaning it was B2B. So they shifted their focus from B2C to B2B. So just imagine, you need to understand before you even expand your business, expand your product, who you need to focus on. And the reason why go to market is important, because just imagine the founder who spent 2 years on the idea, creating the prototype, putting the money, and avoided, wasted resource. And the resources can be engineers, it can be you're paying, if you're bootstrapping for your company, for your startup, you're wasting that money on the engineers, you're wasting on the marketing to acquire the customers. The second thing is, you're trying to focus your energy on aligning the team, right? You want a go to market strategy so that the team, when they join, I have seen founders, when you go and recruit, whether it's a part-time folks or it's a full-time team members, whether it's CMOs, CFOs, or CPOs, CTOs, right? You want to go and explain what your ideas are. If you're not able to explain what is your company trying to do, what your idea is trying to do, how would someone join the team, or how would someone invest in your company, right? So it's very important to have go to market where you know the vision long term, where I want to see my company. And I know like many of them, like, I mean, we think like, okay, I want investors to invest in my company. So having that path, it's very important. I was talking to one of the founders last week, and they're working on different markets, for example, in the US and the Europe, and they were trying to understand what are the markets, right? If there are investors, let's say in Europe, what they look for, right? So it's very important when you're tapping into different market. Just a quick example, like Dropbox, down the line, I mean, when they, not down the line, when they started, they did not get any traction. No one was using it. It was not success. And what they did was, it was not about the product. Dropbox, we are still using it. It's not about the product. The product was fantastic, had a lot of potential, but it was about the go to market, meaning the messaging, the positioning, how they attract and let them know customers like, hey, Dropbox exists. What they did was, how they did the marketing. They got free storage. If you refer your friend, you'll get 2 GB free. That time, 2 GB was a lot, right? So just thinking, and what happened is, Dropbox had product led growth, meaning they did not have to spend money for customer acquisition. The product was the customers who already had or was using Dropbox, they were leading the growth. They were referring other friends, like, hey, use it. The same thing would happen with Uber when they came in. They were offering $20. If you start using the app, download the app, refer a friend, the friend will also get $20. So that's how they started expanding the business. And it was more of how, what is your strategy? What is a GTM? And you should think about as you're thinking about the go to market, who cares about your product? If you're building the product, who you really want to, like the customers, right? And why do they care? And how they will find out, right? For example, there is one rule called Sean Ellis rule. It's called 40% rule, meaning, let's say next day, if someone decides, let's say, I'm gonna use an example. If next day Instagram gonna decide like, okay, we're gonna stop Instagram, people are and the question we should ask, are people going to get disappointed? Yes. If the answer is 40% of the customers on the Instagram platform, if they're going to get sad, disheartened, disappointed, that means your product is required. And that's like a benchmark you can think of, like, if I stop my product next day, are people going to, realize that, oh, this product is not working, right? And that's what the products are thinking about. um, Few factors why go to market matters, and these are few metrics I would say to think about. As the go to market, as I said, like there's so many different factors, right? The positioning, the product market fit, the drivers, channels. Think these are the few buckets you should think of when you have strategy, that how you're going to expand your startup. What it does, it drives the growth and revenue, which is a growth engine. It also reduces your risk and the resources, because I have seen when founders work on an idea without realizing, not realizing, I would say, but without thinking through, like, okay, what should my strategy looks like, without validating or doing the proof of concept, the energy or the money and the engineers or the resources, everything has been invested before. And when they launched or the MVP was ready, they realize, oh, we did not hit the market. This is not what people want. So you don't want to waste your resources or whatever that is. You want to build a competitive advantage, right? Given with the AI advancement, with for past 2 to 3 years, I mean, AI has been there for like more than 10 plus years or more than that. But really, for the past 2 to 3 years, we know, like, now you don't have to be an expert in AI. You can learn and train yourself, even if you're not an engineer or in anything, right? In the finance and everything. So how your company can stand out if you're building AI powered products, or if you're using AI to streamline your internal products, work streams, anything that you can think of. Fourth is how it aligns the go to market with your whole vision. I know sometimes, most of the times, as founders, we build the company because of the experiences we had. So for example, I was traveling last week. I was in a conference and I got to know about this particular founder. The founder has this legal team. Guess what? The founder was not a legal expert, but his experience when he was working was not friendly. He did not get the support that he needed. That's when he built up his own company, and he hired all the experts, and now he's a multi-million-dollar company. So you have to think, what is the goal? What's your why to start the company, right? The fifth is customer acquisition cost, and this aligns with if you are bootstrapping, or if you have some funding, or if you have some investors already. When you're trying to get more customers, because as a founder, a go-to-market strategy is nothing but based on our customers. How many customers do we have? What are their feedback? Do they love our product? Do they hate the product? What they don't like it? What they like it? And that's what the customer acquisition cost is. Customer acquisition cost is nothing but how much money you're spending to acquire a customer. If I'm spending, let's say, like you might have seen the promotion where, for example, Perplexity says like, hey, we're going to give you 2 months of free platform usage. After 2 months, you will have to pay a certain amount of money every month, right? That's the customer acquisition cost. What companies does is they give you for free, where they're getting a feedback and everything, and then it becomes sticky, meaning you love the product and you don't want to leave the product and you want to keep on paying. And the same thing is lifetime value, meaning how much value you're getting from one customer if they're your lifetime customers, right? So if a company has, for example, 3 million users, that means like 3 million users, if they're paying $50 every month, just calculate the number, do the math, like how much money it will generate long time, right? Same thing, I'll give an example quickly. Lovable, if you have heard the name, I'm sure everyone knows now. Lovable product where with just one prompt you can create your own website, right? When they started, I think it was last year, when they had to revamp their go-to market as well. It was mainly when Lovable came out, it was only focused for the engineers, for the developers, and they did not get that much traction and visibility. And that's when they changed their go-to market, meaning then they create that platform for everyone, whether you're an engineer, product, marketing, sales, general, like non-technical person, everyone can use that. And once they changed that strategy, within 3 months, they had, I think, 170 million users, and they were like 50K paid users. So just imagine how they have revamped, and they are competing with so many other platforms like Replit, Bolt, you name it, right? So think about how your go-to-market actually can make you the leader of the industry. And this is like more deep dive on go-to-market framework. Before I dive into it, I would love to know what industries are you in. Just like put in the chat um, what industries or what your startup is focused on. I know someone said is a men's fashion brand. Um, Trying to scroll and see what industries if there are. Financial, entertainment, data diagnostic. Okay, so we have like different industry, women empowerment brand. That's amazing. So we have like different industries, toys. That's amazing. I do have a couple of examples which touch base on all these. So think about, as we are working on cybersecurity, and then early childhood learning, okay, edtech platform, which is great. So as you are thinking on different industries, right, whether this is fintech or data related or toys, cyber tech, think about, and this framework is applicable to all industries. So this is industry agnostic, but everyone as a founder, we have to think about product market fit, target audience, which is ICP, ideal customer profile, value prop, which is messaging is very important, pricing and packaging. I'll tell you an example quickly. There was this one founder, and they were working on the something related to how would I say, calculating your steps, but also it will tell you the loop, how many loops you have to make, meaning how many steps you should be doing, something around that. And it was very new, and they charged to use that app $70. Guess what? No one downloaded those app apart from the family and friends. So when I asked the question, like, okay, $70, that's a lot, right, for a monthly subscription, right? And they were like, oh, I think this is the right price. That's not how it should be. You have to ask and see how much customers are willing to pay. And have a couple more examples. Sales and strategy, it's very important. You don't have to be a sales expert. There are a few things given with the so many platforms, like Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, and there are so many things you can do, like even the videos. You don't have to be on the video. If you're like, oh, I don't want to do the videos, I don't want to, you don't have to. Given with so many tools available right now, you can have your presence online. Marketing strategy and metrics and the feedback. So these are 7 8 puzzle pieces that makes your go-to-market strategy successful. I'm going to deep dive more in each of these so that way you will get a sense of like what it exactly means. So here are a few examples of the industries of the companies I have listed here to give you just a sense of how they have changed their go-to-market strategy and how they realize what is the product market fit. So product market fit, let me give you a quick and simple example of product market fit. As a founder, when you have an idea you want to test out with the customers, like you should ask, okay, interview them or send them surveys if you can, or talk to your friends and family. That's called an alpha stage, right? Go and talk to them, get their feedback. Are they gonna, once you have a product, are they gonna love to use the product? Are they gonna sign up for the product? And once you get that feedback, then you feel like, okay, I'm solving some problem and people are willing to use my product. Then go on the next stage, which is going to be more outside, meaning apart from your family and friends. It might be through referrals, it might be through going and talking to people, reaching out people on LinkedIn, or going to events and just explaining your product and getting them excited and asking them to use your product. That will give you more of the validation and proof of concept before you actually go and build your product. So that's what you're doing, product market fit. When you realize, yes, people will pay for your product, you're solving a problem no one else is. What is your value prop? Why people will pay you rather than some other product? That's when you show that, okay, I have made my product fit to the market. And that's when we think of the go to market. So a couple of examples, I'm not going to deep dive, but Airbnb, initial challenge, no one was booking it. And they realized, oh, it's because the travel budget, and they did not have a professional photos. People were not they were looking at the photos, but they were like, oh, it looks shady, I don't want to buy it. And then they started going in and taking the photos themselves, and they saw the trend. They saw people, like, from the renters, from the buyers and the sellers as well. Slack is another one. When they started, it was mainly a gaming company. It was an internal tool, but then they revamped the go-to-market strategy, because then we're like, oh, we want to make it available for everyone, whether it's professional or for their personal use. And now what happened? I mean, then what happened is, because people were like, hey, I'm on Slack. Do you want to use Slack? And they started inviting. So it was like product-led growth. I give you an example of Dropbox. I'll give you an example of Insta, where it was a photo sharing app, but they changed their strategy. And now where the Instagram is it's just for both someone who likes to learn and gain knowledge. It's been a one platform, as well as people are making money out of it, right? Going into more, define your target market. So, do we just put in the chat? Do we, as you are working on the startups, do you think you have an idea of like who your ideal customers are? Do you know who you're building your product, or are you still deciding or thinking of validating that? Okay, I think I know. For example, I'm building this product for teenagers, but there might be a gray area where you think it's for teenagers, but it might also be for professionals, for elderly people. Do you think you are in that gray area at the moment, or do you know, like, no, I have validated my idea, I know who my customers are, I know my SCP, but not sure how to reach them with online marketing funnel? Okay, that's good, Cal. We'll talk more on what and how you should be reaching, what your strategy should look like on the marketing side. Anyone else? Do you think you have sense of, yes, I have found my market? That's great, Emmy. So people who are interested in self-hosting software or have their own home lab. Okay, so those are your customers, your ICP. In that case, as you're thinking, so for others, for example, ideal customer profile is nothing but, once you think like, okay, I want to solve this problem, but we think like who I should be solving this problem for. That is your ideal customer profile. You have to think about one, and it can be many, but to start with, for example, sometimes for healthcare we think like, okay, age, I want to have this product for ranging 10 to 20 years old. There has to be a product for 65 plus year old. Or I'm creating a gaming industry, and the gaming industry or gaming product will be for teenagers or age range from 15 plus to 30 plus, right? So when we think like, okay, I know who I'm building, who is my main customer will be, but there might be other customers as well, right? They might not be the main buyer, but indirectly they might be. So focusing, identifying who is your main ICP is, then focusing on, and few factors that will help you to decide are demographics, meaning the age, gender, home, education. Firmographics, meaning what kind of industry are you focusing on. If you're focusing on gaming industry, if you're focusing on finance, and finance can be like, are you focusing on a startup which is helping the families to learn about the finances, or you're helping with the banking? What is your industry, right? The company size, is it a mid to small startup companies, B2B, or is it ownership, is it public, is it private? Growth stage where you are at, is it a 500 fortune, or is it like a very bootstrappy company, right? Psychology is another one, and behavioral, meaning the lifestyle matters. For example, if in Boston, and I'm just taking this example, where we see in Boston, there are, and California as well, and Netherlands. So those are the places I know people love biking, right? That's another way of transportation, and people love those. If you're creating a product like Segway, right, or e-scooters, you will start with those locations, those market first. Whereas thinking instead of thinking of South Carolina, because they don't use everyone has cars, right? So understanding the lifestyle, the values, the personality helps to launch your product in the markets, right? And sometimes, not sometimes, I would say another way is to grab or to get analysis of your market is something called TAM, SAM, SOM, meaning understanding if you're solving a problem in healthcare industry, fintech, edtech, gaming industry, what is the total market? Meaning, if how many people are there? What's the the dollar amount attached to it? Is it $1 billion company? Is it going to be $1 billion market, or is it going to be a small market? That helps down the line, not only for you, but also when you're going to investors down the line, they will know that, okay, the problem you're solving is huge. Moving on, parent of eight, not sure how to, okay. Compelling value prop. So value prop is very important. Value prop is nothing but when you're telling a story to anyone, right? Whether you're walking on the street, you're telling someone like, hey, they'll ask what you do. I'm like, this is my company, and giving them 30-second pitch. Whether you are, talking to an investor and they were like, hey, tell me more. You have 1 minute to tell your company's idea, what you're working on, right? Or you are hiring team members, or you are working with an advisor, whatever it may mean, right? How you tell your story within 1 minute, that makes it sticky, meaning you want to say what is the problem, what is the solutions, and how your product is standing out. That is it. And I've seen many times we struggle, right? We don't know what to say, what not to say. So think about the customer problem, your unique solution. So for example, Lyft came out, and Uber didn't stop itself. Like, oh, Lyft is already there. It should not be launching my product. No, Google Glasses, it was already there, which wasn't a success. But Meta Glass, which we call Ray-Ban smart glasses, didn't stop itself. They were like, no, even if Google Glass was a failure, we're gonna come back. We're gonna do something different, right? I mean, it's not that successful, but again, they came back, and they're selling the product. So think about what is your value prop, how you're standing out. The third is, as we spoke about the messaging, I want you guys to think about when you talk about your company, you should think about why people will listen to you, right? Whether you want to go and sell to customers who might not even need it, but once they hear you about your company, your startup, they're like, oh, you know what, I love it, I want to sign up, I want to pay for it, I want to use your product, right? And one example I'll give you, and it might help you think about. So I don't know if you all know about monday.com, but it's for product managers, also, but project managers help you to keep track of all the spreadsheets. So the problem stage was tired of the way they marketed themselves was like, are you tired of spreadsheet chaos? And people like, yes, whether you're in finance, whether you're working in the company, everyone was working with the spreadsheet. The solution, they were like messaging, which was monday.com. They were messaging themselves as one platform for project goals and documents. And people were like, wow, tell me more, right? Same thing with Notion came out. It was already, I think, 7 8 years ago. Notion was competing with Evernote, SharePoint, and it was not getting any traction because people like, what, I'm using Google Document, we have Google Suite, why are we going to switch to Notion? It's a new app. We're using Evernote, SharePoints. They were huge. I mean, Notion did not get traction. Then they changed the whole story, the go to market, and now it's the leading and it's competing with Google Docs, and nowhere close to SharePoint. It's all gone. Everyone is using Notion because now they became one platform where you can do your product road mapping, where you can create your Jira stories, where you can have your meeting notes already. Everything you can do in Notion AI. So that's how they revamped their go to market. Pricing and packaging, as I was telling you the story, rather than just throwing out the number like, oh, I'm gonna, for my app, for my website, I'm gonna charge people $20 or $70 or $200. People are not gonna pay that much. As we spoke about, you need to understand the demographic. You need to understand where you're planning to launch your market. For example, if you're launching the product in the US, where let's say people are willing to pay, and do the research, I would say. Rather, once we think of coming with the numbers, I always advise founders, do the research, see if you have the competitors, direct and indirect, what are the pricing strategy, how much they are charging. And if someone is charging, your competitor is charging, let's say $20 per month, you are new or you're trying to get into the market, don't charge $25 or more than that. Try to charge less so that people like, oh, this is, $10. I would love to try it out. They are having the same capabilities plus more, right? That's when you want to get more users on your platform. So, and that's the psychology, right? Like, I have tested so many products now. For example, ChatGPT is paid, but before I mean, they still have the free plan, and they have like limited messaging. And if you want to do more messaging, more prompting, you have to pay $20, right? And that's, people are like, what, I'm using daily, I need to use like, 10 prompts doesn't work for me, I need to use more prompts. I'm using for personal, for professional, for this and that. I will start paying $20. So that is the strategy, right? Calendly has the same thing. I'm sure you might have heard of Calendly or used it. They started, before it was like 30 minutes was free, but now it's 15 minutes free meeting. And now people like, what, I'm ready to, like, I can't schedule 30 minutes, I have to pay for it. I'm like, yes, I'll pay for it, because they're getting the value out of it, right? Some of the models and the metrics you should think of, like how much you're spending in the customer acquisition, how much are the paid users, and how much you're making from the customers. Moving on, sales and strategy. And feel free to post questions if you have. I know I'm going, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat, and we will try to cover at the end or in between as well. So feel free to pause me if you have any questions related to these.
Hey, yes, I do. Um,
Yeah.
when it comes to product market fit, all of this is great. I want to get your thoughts on something specifically related to PMF. Do you consider product market fit to be something that is static, like once it's reached, it's fixed, it is what it is? Or do you see product market fit as being something that's more akin to like a moving target? Like I think it's a moving target, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Thank you, Steve, for asking. It's product market fit. It's not static, meaning it is not a one-time thing. If we think of like, oh, I have spoken to the customer, I know they want this product. That's great. I'm just gonna keep on building that product. No, you have to go and keep on asking. You have to go and review the feedback from the customers. You have to keep an eye on the market. You have to keep an eye on the competitors. And the product market fit will keep on changing. So, to give you an example, QB, it's not a very popular name. QB was a streaming service. We have Netflix, HBO, Prime Videos, right? QB was also a streaming service. It came out in 2020. during the pandemic time. It came in April, and I think it died down in December 2020 because they had so many, like there were so many other competitors. They were not able to tap into who are the real like target customers, and they did not do the product market fit. Meaning they thought like, oh, we're gonna just launch and people just gonna view the shows, the movies on our platform, but they did not go and see like where we are launching, who will be watching it, and that's when within like 9 months they were not sustainable. They could not grow. And whereas Peacock and HBO Max, that was launched in May 2020 and July 2020, they are still going on. So I would say product market fit is not one time thing. You always have to keep on refining your customers, your value prop, and your product.
I agree. May I ask one follow-up question?
Mm-hmm.
When we think about product market fit then as being a moving target, and when we're doing our go-to-market research, when we're doing our, even product development research and such, what role does empathy play in that in terms of, like, to be specific, empathizing with, say, the customer journey with the customer needs, like things such as that?
It plays a big role. So if you are, and I would say, as you are, as a founder, if you're thinking about the product market fit, that yes, I know people will buy my product. Now I will go and expand my product. Before, I would say expanding the product in different markets or different, I would say user base as in like the product was only for teenagers. Now you're thinking of, oh, it can be for their parents or it can be for elderly people. Before even going that route, having empathy is really, really important. And what I mean by that, as a product person, I know that if I don't include the empathy and the customer views, they're not going to buy it. They were like, okay, I'm giving the feedback. For example, Airbnb, right? Like the photos people, and I'm just going to give that example because the empathy part you spoke about, it was so important. So Airbnb was not only struggling with the photo quality and the image quality, but what happened is the founders, they were like, okay, we improved the photo quality, we are uploading the high quality on our website, why people are not signing up? Then what they started doing is they went and they started going to the house in person, like the owners, and they asked them like, hey, can you create your account? And they realized that the customers were having issues navigating the website, navigating the signups, and they did not realize, and they changed the whole user journey. As you were talking about the customer journey, there were so many frustrations which they did not see. They were only able to see when they went in person and they saw them in front of their face, that oh, they're struggling, they're frustrated, and they wanted to change the whole thing. So I would highly suggest, if it's possible for you as a founder, if you can talk to the customers, like pick up the phone and talk to them, like 15 minutes, or just explore and see how you can connect with them.
Thank you, Shweta. And I know we also have another great question from Maya that I'll let you get to in the chat there.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. How do you establish credibility with your customers, especially for product customers in technical space? That's a great question, Maya. I'm going to cover that in a slide, so hold on to that one. I know we have like 20 minutes left as well, so I'll try to rush and I'll answer your questions as we move on to the slides. This is the slide that I want to talk into. I think someone had the question about the marketing and what strategy you should use at. So you don't have to be a marketing and the sales expert. If you have a team member who has the background, that's great. But marketing is something you can think of inbound and outbound. Meaning inbound, you attract customer through valuable content, right? Which is, for example, Slack did it, Zoom did that, Netflix, for example, they do that because they had this family plan. The outbound is nothing but you are proactively reaching out. You go out and you give them samples, you give them trials, and people try it out and they were like, they learn it about your product, and there's a word of mouth, right? They start promoting then for you. So think about what is your strategy looks like. Figma, for example, which is a mock-up tool like for designing the website or designing any ideas, how they got traction. So engineers, sorry, not engineers, designers, UI UX designers, they started using the free option, freemium, and company realized, oh, they're using all our information on this free platform. And because they wanted to deal with the security thing, companies started buying Figma licenses. They started using Figma, the paid plan. That's how Figma started gaining the traction and gaining the revenue. Marketing strategy to build. So there are a couple of different areas, and happy to talk more later on as well. But marketing at this moment, you don't have to be someone who is always online. You have people like, oh, I'm not a person who will just go and create videos, or I just write posts. I don't even know how to write a post or create a campaign. No worries. There are so many tools right now available for you where it will do the thinking for you. It will provide what content and where to launch it. Couple of areas. Tofu. I love tofu, but not that tofu. It's top of the funnel, meaning having the awareness, right? Middle of the funnel, meaning consideration of social media, which I spoke about, Instagram or Facebook, how you can do the ads. And bottom of the funnel, like TikTok shop by now. So these are different funnels that you can think of. Mapping the customer journey, back to the point where think about what if you're in the customer's shoes, how will your experience look like, right? Because if you have experienced that problem or the pain, you will know what the customers feel like when they're going through the journey. For example, paid ad, and then they will be landing on the page. So for example, they see your ad on some paid ad platform, they go on the landing page, they see your website or app, and they're like, oh, I love this product, I want to, get onboarded. They'll sign up. There's an onboarding email. They will try the product. If it's a freemium, they will try the product, and then whatever question they have, they will get those answered. So this whole journey is very important as you're onboarding new clients, because if they don't like the support, if they don't like the product, they're not going to come back, and you don't want to lose that one customer, and which might be more as we go down the road. These are a few metrics. Financial, I'm just going to touch base very high. I'm not going to deep dive at the moment, but financial metrics, think about for the go to market. There are finance metrics, meaning every month how much you're making, which is MRR and ARR. Customer metrics, meaning if you have customers on your platform, let's say if you have 100K customers and sign up the first month, and slowly and steadily they are, getting rid of the app, or they're not signing up, the churn rate, what is making them leave the platform, leave your product, that is very important. You have to keep an eye. NPS, the customer satisfaction, that will tell you with the empathy how your product is doing. And the retention, as a founder, we don't just want to acquire the customer, we want to keep them sustained, meaning we want them to keep coming, to keep paying monthly or yearly payment. That shows that we are retaining our customers. The third metric is cost and value metric, which is customer acquisition cost, which are touch based. If you're spending in marketing, how much money you're spending to acquire one customer, right? And what is the lifetime value? The fourth one is engagement metrics. This is really important. When you have customers, looking at, are they daily engaged with your platform, with your product, meaning are they going on, logging in, or they're going and using one feature particularly, which is like daily active user and monthly active users, and see those, and the session times, how many times they have logged in. So all these metrics are really important. I'm going to give you a quick example of uh, the go-to-market success example and the failures example. These are the success examples you might already know, but just to give you, as I spoke about Notion, how they changed the go-to-market rather than just like being as a Google document. Now they have been used for everything. Zoom, for example, they came out in pandemic, but even though now we have Teams, now we have Google Meet, but Zoom is still competing. And the reason why, because they identified who are the target users are. Whether you are a student, whether you are a professional, whether you are a non-tech person, Zoom is so great that you don't have to learn the platform. They will make it easy for you. Trader Joe's this is one of my favorite. If you see, Trader Joe's does nothing. For example, nothing as in they don't do the promotions, they don't give discounts, there is no coupon code, there is no reward system, but still it's leading in the US. I mean, and everywhere else. Like people are, I mean, the customers, I would say, are so loyal to Trader Joe's. They are earning millions, so I would say billions of dollars because of their model, the business model. And I would love to talk to you more later on, but that's amazing go-to-market strategy. And Pop Mart, I think in the last couple of months, it became the strategy, right? Labubu, I don't know if you have seen that toy. The strategy they use, the marketing, where celebrities in the US started using it on their bags and everything, and people like, oh, we want to buy, and the trend has gone viral, and they've been like $1 billion company, right? So these are some go to market. How you can stand out your product is important. Couple of failures from these companies. QB, as I said, a streaming service, did not last because they did not identify who are the target users. Segway is nothing but, it was an kind of an e-scooter, or it was a it was launched, but I think what happened is they did not know who are the real customers are. It was not safe. There were many issues. It was heavy, it was pricey, and unfortunately it was not safe. The person who acquired this company died because he was riding Segway. So you don't want to use the product when someone, the rate is not good. Google Glasses, as I mentioned, one of the failures is it's heavy. As you can see, Google Glasses, nothing but you can wear those glasses. And there were many technical issues. It was bulky. The design was not good. They did not had a clear idea of who the customers are, who they're creating this Google Glasses for. That's when they lost it. But Meta, Ray-Ban Smart Glass, again, there are some privacy concerns, but I think the design, people, they have made some changes. People who are the customers, I would say, or consumers who are into photos and videos, or who are in the content creation, it's good for them as well. And they have some AI technologies embedded as well. So that's where the Meta glasses are doing a little good compared to the Google. Clubhouse, if you have used it, we know they gained so much traction within a couple of months. I think it was in pandemic time, and then they completely lost the traction. So these are a couple of go-to-market failures. And then let's see. This is, I know we don't have time, but this is just a template for you to use it for your own company and see who are your customers are, if you have not identified, or if you're still in the gray area, who and what you're selling and how you differentiate yourself. As I said, like value prop. Once you're talking to people, you need to really know what is your value prop, like what is something that you're standing out, like what is the X factor, right? And how do you reach your customers and convert them? The goal at the end of the day is not just like talking about your idea, but you want customers, you want potential clients to go on your website or to go on your app, download it, pay for it, whatever that means, right? And what does the success look like for you, right? Is it getting 100 customers, paid customers? I'm just throwing out a number. Is it launching into a new market, or launching a new feature, or generating a revenue at certain level? What does your success looks like? And again, this is a mini workshop, but you can, I just picked an example of AI meal planner, and you can just create, like, as a busy parent, how would you think about planning a week of gluten-free dinners in 60 seconds, and then creating Instagram reels for quick demos. But again, that's all I had. I know we have 11 minutes left, and this is, if you want to reach out to me, if you have any questions, I would love to stay in touch. And also, I know Denny shared a form in the chat and my contact information as well.
Awesome. Shweta, thank you so much. This was such an amazing overview of GTM strategy. We're excited and grateful for that. As Shweta said, there is a link to an evaluation. Please fill that out. We're actually working with Shweta to develop a series, and would love to get your feedback on what you would like to see included in the series, specifically around go-to-market strategy. And if you would like to follow up with Shweta, aside from the QR code that is in there, you can reach out directly via email. If you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. You are also welcome to unmute and ask your questions directly.
Sure. So hey, this is Steve. I first of all want to say this was a very, especially for it only being an hour. This was, to your point, Danny, very very informative, an excellent primer, if I may say, on go-to-market strategy. So I know I asked a little bit about empathy earlier. I asked a little bit about PMF and all that good stuff. My only other question would be, Shweta, as an expert in these fields, have you seen any of the traditional tactics being phased out in favor of new ones? What I mean is, when you first started doing this, were there go to market strategies that were in vogue back then that now have been, perhaps to your point, because of things like AI and other things like that, have new techniques seem to take over from the old ones?
Yeah, a good question. I think that's a great question because I think sometimes go to market happens as you keep on testing. And to give an example, sometimes there are like accidental founders, right? Meaning we think like there's an idea. For example, Mark, right? He was just doing a project for his own company, like not company, sorry, for the school, and they started getting the traction. Like, oh, there were people like when Facebook was not Facebook, it was just meant to be a small internal communication. Like, you need to know who are students in this batch, in this class, and they got it started getting traction from Harvard. The people love it, and they just started getting spreading into Stanford, like, and different universities. And people, like, not only in the universities, now they're like, oh, there are people who are alumni now. There are like people who have already graduated. There are like different phases of life. They started creating this platform for everyone. So to your question, I would say the best way for go to market or even to test it out, you always have to go and try out. So for example, don't be in the silos. I have seen founders who have been successful.
Great point.
they
Yeah.
they go out and talk. Like, if you are never stop. And even if, let's say, you have 50 paid clients, if you're in early to mid stage, if you're talking to them, that's great. But I would say always be curious, meaning with the AI advancement, people are, I have seen this, and I want you to, as founders, think about, we want to use AI, right? Like in everything, whether it's in product, you want a chatbot, or you want AI to analyze for you to provide recommendation if you're using AI powered product, or you think like, oh, I want my team members to use AI to create a product strategy for me, right? So that's where I think go to market is helping. AI is helping go to market in a way where I'm not spending like hours on the research. I'm going to
Yeah.
tell, yeah, go ahead.
But no, no, no. I am just so excited to hear you say that, because I just want to ask something very specific, because you are so right in that there has been now a profound reliance seen where so many founders are able to use AI. But as you know, because I'm studying AI and working with AI, I am all too familiar with the tendency for such tools to sometimes break, hallucinate, even practice a kind of sycophancy. What would you say to those founders like us who, yes, you want us to use the tools? How do we kind of like find that balance? And also, as a last thing, before I promise not to ask any more questions, I'm just so excited, but as a last thing would be, when things break for me, when things fail for me as a founder in trying to find product market fit and trying to get the go to market strategy clarity, if you will, how do I cope with that? How do I cope with the fact that I'm failing?
Yeah. So first question, yeah, AI is, I would not suggest to completely rely on AI because AI is still hallucinating. And there are, if you try the same prompt, try it out. If you put the same prompt, for example, in three different LLMs, like, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude, it's going to give you different feedback, right? So I would suggest, if you're doing, think about, and I'm happy to share more, how and where you should use what tools to help you with your go to market strategy. But for example, if you're doing the customer research and you're identifying who is my ICP, you should, for example, use Perplexity because it's fantastic in providing you research and a source of truth, right? AI will hallucinate, and sometimes when I do research, I go back and do my, I would say, cross check, because it will give you information which is not out there. I mean, meaning it will just make up something, right? If it does not have that information, right? So first do your cross check, know that, okay, the information might not be 100% correct. The second thing on the GTM, if someone is failing, I would say failure is a part of, I don't see it in a negative way. You have to fail. If you're not failing, that shows you're not doing anything. And this is very cliche, but this is so true. This is so real, because you will go and you will realize that, oh, I spoke to the target customer, I thought this is my real customer, but they are not. You will realize in the next 2 months that my real customer is someone else, and that is completely fine. And you have to realize that, it will be better to realize early on, within a year or 2 year, rather than realizing in 10 years that, oh, this is not my real customers, right? So don't be afraid, I would say, to make mistakes. Be ready to fail. I mean, I always tell, when I work with the founders, I advise them, pick 3 to 4 things that you are uncomfortable with, that you know that it's going to put you out of your comfort zone, or something that will you will make mistake. I always tend them to do that, because once you do that, that's when you will reach, that will bring you closer to your goals. And I have one question. I know Maya, I don't know if Maya is still online, but I don't know, Maya, if what industry are you in, that will help me to answer your question, because your question was, how do you establish credibility with your customers, especially for product customers in technical space? So
Yeah, I'm still here. So I'm
yeah, yeah.
building a network diagnostics tool targeted towards folks in the self-hosted and home lab space. So basically a prosumer type of person. And I'm in that group, but I would say I'm definitely on the less, I mean, I still know what I'm doing, but I'm definitely on the less technically savvy side compared to some people in that community, a lot of whom are, IT professionals, which I am not. So I know enough about the user problems because I am one myself, and I've seen the conversations to know like what I think would be helpful. But I still recognize that there is a pretty big gap between what I know and what a lot of the other people know. And then besides that, if I wanted to go B2B and sell to, actual IT professionals, like that's a whole different ball game that I'm not even playing. And so, yeah, that's kind of something I'm a little bit stuck on.
Yeah, I am so glad that so here's the thing. I come from tech background, but I have worked with people who are like from non-technical background. And to answer your question, Maya, even if, let's say, if you feel like you don't have technical background, or you don't feel like, oh, I'm, confident enough, what people look for example, whether you're targeting the investors or whether you're targeting with IT professionals or your B2B clients, if you have your team, your team, maybe create that team who are coming, who have like IT expert, like tech experts. That way, when people see that, okay, you have a team surrounded who are expert in IT, in tech, data, whatever it may mean, people like, oh, you have a credible team, right? The second thing I would say, the data, like whatever stage you are at, and happy to chat more offline, but the data tells a lot. You don't need to know technical things. So you don't have to show you what formulas you're using. You have to come across the concepts and what, if you're going to the IT professional, what they're going to look for. Once you do those studies, you can answer those questions. So for you, you need to show your credibility through your product and the data points. And the data points may mean like if you have already used that product and who are using and how.
Yep, makes sense. Yeah, I would love to talk more. And
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I know like we have 1 minute left, Danny.
Yes, no, this is fantastic, Shweta. Again, thank you so much. As we shared, the evaluation is in the chat. Please feel free to reach out to Shweta directly. We'll be in touch soon with updates on the series that we're going to be working with Shweta on. And please make sure to check out startout.org for future events. Thank you all so much. The recording will be sent out in the next few days.
Right. Thank you, everyone.